Hello and welcome to episode 1355 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Tuesday, December 17th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this afternoon by Justin Mason. Justin, good day, sir.
Good afternoon. It's afternoon for both of us. So,
That's
yeah.
right. How you doing?
Uh, I'm a little annoyed, right?
Oh,
Like we
because I'm
got a
late?
bunch. No, 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 not. I mean,
I know. I was
come
just
on, get him
self-roasting there. I appreciate that.
No, like we recorded on Friday. A bunch of moves happened,
Right.
and then nothing has happened since then. Like I recorded on Sunday, and I'm just waiting for
It's like
the
someone
news.
turned on the hose or turned on the spigot. It blasts for a few seconds and they completely turned it off. They didn't let it
Yeah,
drip. They didn't let a steady flow come out. They turned it on, the fire hose went, and then boom, nothing.
yeah.
Like, no offense to Tomoyuki Sagano, 35-year-old kind of like junk baller type, could be compelling in Baltimore, but like, and not really moving. We're not even going to talk about it. We're going to talk about pitching rankings today. So all the moves that have been notable, we haven't gotten any in a while. So is it just the quiet before the holiday, you know,
That's
or,
what I
or
guess.
the holiday quiet right now, I guess. But I thought that usually we'd still get like a little bit more kind of leading up until like the 20th or 21st, right? I know there's no official cutoff date for the holidays. In fact, stuff has happened on Christmas Eve and
Mark
Christmas Day
Teixeira,
before.
yeah, Mark
Yeah.
Teixeira signed on Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So like that's not even saying that nothing can happen on Christmas, but we generally build in a little lull there, and we're getting it a week, 10 days beforehand. So that is kind of a bummer. But with our position rankings all up, we can start dissecting them. And so you
yeah,
and I are going to talk today about my starting pitcher rankings. And you got some questions for me. So I will turn the hosting over to you and let's talk about, I think we're going to focus mostly on like the top 25 today. We'll see how far we get because we do have a
yeah.
little bit of a hard out, and I am late. I will own that. So if we stick with the top 20 there, I think that's probably going to be
Mhm.
the good cutoff for today, and then we'll get into the rest after. But yeah, go ahead and take it away because you got some great names here to talk about. We'll have a link in the show notes to my SP rankings if you haven't checked them out yet, and take it away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first and foremost, great job. And I mean,
Thank you.
just 200 pitchers this early in the off season is quite the feat. And I don't envy you having that position. I know you love pitching, and so for you, it's not like truly atrocious. It's a labor of love, but
Right.
yeah, it's a lot of pitchers. Like, I haven't even started my pitcher ranks. My pitcher ranks
Even
won't be done until like the end of January.
even the to be sorted group, which was literally just a group of guys from 134 to 200 that I don't know exactly where to put yet. Even they like were studied and
Yeah.
not, I wouldn't say meticulously placed within that group, but like I tried to be mindful of where they were even there. So yeah, did a ton of work on it. You're going to see more and more profiles being written. I'm not going to say daily because I'm not updating it daily, but you're going to see a lot of updates as we get to all 200 profiles.
All right, let's start. I mean, obviously, like your first four, I really just don't have any issue with. I mean, you can obviously put, I think, Scooble and Skeens in just about any 1-2 order.
Hmm.
But I also think like Zach Wheeler, you can make the argument, hey, maybe he should be too.
And you
And
wouldn't beat up anybody for taking him at that two spot, right? Because I certainly
no,
wouldn't.
no, absolutely wouldn't. I love Wheeler. We already talked about Crochet after the signing or after the
Hmm.
trade, so I don't feel like we need to dig into that one. I think you're very high on him. I'm high on him as well. I don't know if I'm going to be as high on him as you. So I really want to just jump into number 5, which is Jacob DeGrom.
Let's do it.
It like, and I don't. I'm not like beating you up or anything. It
Sure.
is just it's shocking to see him
No doubt.
back up on the top. But I almost wonder, like, hey, if you're gonna have him this high, why not just go all the way? Like, why? I mean,
I
like,
felt like this was all the way, but that's a fair question, right?
like
Like, why not
if
just go
he's
one
back,
then?
he's back, right? If
Right.
we think
Right.
he is going to be throwing 160, 170 innings this year, isn't he just the best pitcher in baseball?
I do have
Um,
an answer for that. And
yeah,
it
okay,
is that while I am of the mind that, like, this is healthy, this is the healthiest we've seen DeGrom in a while, and he did close on the mound looking like the DeGrom that you're talking about here. The reason I still stopped short of that 1 or 2 ranking and settled for 5 was because I don't think we're going to get the buck 60, buck 70. Even in a dream world, I still think they want to massage him through the season because they have designs on getting back to the playoffs, of course, and ideally making another World Series run if you're, the Rangers management. So I think that they're going to look at him as more of a 130, 140. Ideally, it's of their own management as opposed to him having to be shut down. But even with an aggressive positive outlook, I still couldn't get my mind back into the 150, 160. And it could happen, right? Chris Sale is the easiest go-to example right now. Now, it's not to the same degree of DeGrom because, well, I guess he did miss 3 seasons. So it kind of is because
Yeah.
DeGrom has essentially been absent since 2019, which is so 4+ seasons, right? Because we don't count 2020 as a full thing. So the Sale parallel is actually kind of decent, but Sale was coming off 102 innings and then jumped up to 178
Mhm.
last year. I just don't know if they're going to push 37-year-old DeGrom quite that high. Even if he's healthy and going, I think they just might be smart with some off time. But I still think 130, 140 innings can easily be a top 5 guy. So I went aggro with the ranking to the point where if you're bought in, buy in. Don't pussyfoot around with it. If you want him, go get him in roster, Jacob DeGrom.
I'm really interested to do my projection on him because I don't disagree with you at all. I just felt like it is a little drawing to see him up this high.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I just think if you're from a roster construction standpoint, if you're going to draft DeGrom as high as he is going, you need to make sure you are drafting like I don't know, a Framber, like a guy who like you can get innings from for sure.
Right.
Like
You got to get,
obviously everybody's got risk, but like there's
but
certain
as
guys
certain
that
as in, yeah, the certainty that insofar as we can do certainty, you got to get some guys that you feel comfortable getting innings from. I totally agree. And to me, I think in the situations where I want to take DeGrom, I kind of want to go a double whammy 1-2 punch. Actually, whammies are bad. I want to go a 1-2 punch of like DeGrom and then a Mariner, like Gilbert or Kirby, who come right after him.
yeah,
Like I
I
would want to
love that.
go. Yeah, that's what I want to do with DeGrom where I get him.
Yeah, I mean if you take DeGrom, let's see, DeGrom is currently going at pick 37
Hmm.
in draft champions. Like if you paired a DeGrom and a Kirby, a DeGrom, uh, God, I'm looking at the rest of the guy. Like the like
The
pitching is deep this
stability,
year. The stability is not there. Oh,
right?
do we have breaking news right now?
What happened? Bellinger to the Yankees. That's such a
Is it
good fit.
is it with Nico Horner? Because I know there was talk that they could trade both of them.
Nothing yet. Passon's reporting it though. It is in fact done.
Oh, I love that. I love that for Bellinger. Yeah,
I do too. That
that's
is
good.
hot.
Yeah, that's a fantastic move for the
Thank you
Yankees.
for the breaking news, chat. Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
that's Richard Sands, baby. All right.
Oh,
Let's.
it's
Oh,
wow. This is a cash dump. It's
is it?
Cody.
It's
It's
straight.
Cody for Cody. It's Cody and cash to the Yankees for Cody Poteet,
Oh God, yeah, it is.
who's
That
like
is
an
a great.
okay arm. I'm not gonna say he's nothing, but like not what you're expecting for Bellinger. So it's a cash dump, and that's
Yeah.
that's fine.
Now there was a report that the Cubs could try to cash dump Bellinger in a way to clear more payroll to try to go get Corbin Burns.
That
So,
if
which
that's what
is a
that's
great
opening up,
segue to Corbin Burns, who you have eighth on your
yes,
ranks,
too low.
is jarring as seeing Degrom at 5 to me. Is seeing Corbin Burns as low as 8. Um, I understand it. I just think he has been so reliable. He's been so good. I
Hmm.
know we don't know where he's going to be, if he's going to end up back in Baltimore, end up in a place like Chicago with the Cubs. What is having you put Corbin Burns outside of the top 5, outside of the top 7 at 8?
Right now, the main thing would be the uncertainty of where he's going to play. So I decided to go with what I believe is the higher reliability of the Mariners being where they are, the 2 Mariners, Gilbert and Kirby. And then obviously heavy risk with Crochet and DeGrom, but I like their upside because what Burns is lacking right now is the strikeouts of those top dogs. And part of figuring out where he's going to land might also encourage me about the potential return of those strikeouts. Because I put this in my write up too, where I'm like, Yes, the strikeouts have been coming down, and that's part of why he is here at 8. Not that it's a big slight on him, but we have to face facts that the strikeouts have come down. But it's not like he has no swing and miss in his game.
Yeah.
Corbin Burns can still miss bats. He'll still flash the big strikeout games too. So I don't even rule out that the upper 20s, low 30s strikeout rates could come back. But I do have to acknowledge that we haven't been anywhere near there the last 2 years at 26 and 23% respectively. And so that's the bulk of this ranking, because I think if he had had his normal strikeout rates, he's probably sandwiched in between Crochet and DeGrom, maybe even ahead of Crochet, right there with Wheeler. Like, he would be higher. You're 100% right. But between the uncertainty of where he's going to play and the fact that the strikeouts have come down, that's where I got Burns at 8. He still made the aces tier, and I did say I'll have more when he signs, and that will be, me assessing what's going to where he signs and what they might be able to do with his pitching. If he goes to a pitching friendly organization, I might be more inclined to say, hey, maybe that strikeout rate bumps back up over 25%. But as it stands right now, I think we have to be a little bit cautious with the strikeouts. Still treat him as a full-on fantasy ace, but Corbin Burns needs to get those Ks back up to be like one of the top 5 guys, which I think is what you're saying you like him for, which I don't think is out of pocket, but I want a little bit more K certainty.
Yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from with that, and I can probably see that he probably shouldn't be top 5. And I also don't want to like nitpick if I have him at 6 and be like, "Oh, you hate him at 8, and I love him at 6."
Right,
Like,
right.
That's just insanity. I just think the totality of the innings that you get from him with
Massive.
such great ratios. Obviously, where he lands is going to play a role. I know my Giants have been rumored to be one of the kind of top teams chasing him. While I would love that for my Giants, I don't know if I love it as much for his fantasy value. Yes, Oracle Park is a great place to pitch.
Mm-hmm.
How many wins are they getting, even with Corbin Burns? Like, I
Right.
don't know. I don't know if I feel...
Wait. If they went Adames Burns, you wouldn't be feeling better?
I'd be feeling better. Do I still think they are a 90-win team? No, I don't think they're a 90-win team.
Excuse me. Let me do my math real quick. If Corbin Burns brings 5 WAR and Willie Adames brings 5 WAR to the 80-win team from last year, that technically would be 90 wins, sir.
That would technically be 90 wins. Oh my God, there's a dude on TikTok, and I'm not going to say his account because I'm going to roast him a little bit here. But he's a very popular baseball TikTok account, and he did a breakdown of Fangraphs Steamer WAR. Like he got the rankings of like the top 100 players by Fangraphs Steamer, WAR.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was a total misunderstanding of how projections work, first and foremost.
No.
Like it just like he didn't like, and I'm sure he understands how projections works, and it's a lot of clickbait, but man, like I had a really hard time not just like
you're just like, give me a break.
Yeah.
I imagine, because like to say we're experts in fantasy, it overstates the idea, like it's heavy terminology to say expert, right? That is our area of expertise. We're both huge nerds about it. I'm not saying we're the best fantasy players ever or whatever. I'm relating it to something where like a lawyer or a doctor watching a lawyer or doctor show and being like, that's wrong.
Yeah.
That's kind of us when we see people
that is absolutely
misinterpret stats. And again, not over inflating our abilities, but like we'll look at that and be like, you're totally using that stat the wrong way type vibe.
My wife and brother-in-law, who are both big Giants fans, cannot stand watching games with me anymore. Because
you just get mad about all the misuse of stats.
I don't like mansplain things. I like baseball.
We
like
nerd-splain
things. Yeah. It really, they're like, just be a fan. I'm like, I am a fan. I also understand the game a hell of a lot better than whoever is talking about it right now.
This makes my fandom better for me. That I understand that's my personality defect, that being this much of a nerd makes the game better for me, but it does. And I understand why
that guy's going to listen to the pod and like, he's
going to be like, oh,
I'm going to get an angry.
I did a TikTok based on that. What the hell is this guy's problem?
So yeah, no, I just like Burns. I do definitely want to see where he's going. I just thought, again, another one of those I don't necessarily have a problem with the rank. I just wanted to. It was just a little bit jarring to
A
me.
worthy
Kind of
question to
seeing,
be
yeah.
sure.
Next on the docket, we'll just talk about all the Dodgers.
Yes, because I put them in their own special group.
Yes, you rank them all 10 through 13, and we are talking about you have 10, you have Blake Snell, 11, you have Yamamoto, 12, you have Tyler Glasnow, and then 13, you have Shohei Ohtani. I don't know that I'm ever going to rank Blake Snell as a top 10 starting pitcher. I don't have a problem with that though. I have an issue with the control. I have an issue with the health, long-term health profile, but he is on the best team in baseball. He is a fantastic pitcher when he's on. I loved watching him pitch in San Francisco, and I'm going to hate watching him pitch in LA. So
Right.
I don't really have, like I said, he won't be that high for me, but I don't have an issue with it. I don't know where I stand on Yamamoto yet. I've not yet, and I will do kind of the research when I'm doing my starting pitcher ranks. I have this belief in my head that is not verified at all yet or backed up by any statistical analysis that Japanese pitchers struggle mightily with injury in their second full year in the major leagues. We've seen a lot of guys.
I think we've seen some of that, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm going. Part of my research when I'm doing my my starting pitcher ranks is I'm going to look into kind of the history of that and see. And he was the guy who dealt with injuries in
big time this year,
24. So I'm a little concerned, and I definitely have a hard time ranking him that high. Why are you so high on Yamamoto? 11 is like passing up on a lot of really good pitchers to take him there.
11 is really high. Yeah, I'm putting this Dodgers group together. You talk about like the DeGrom and Crochet rankings and the sort of volatility and risk that they bring. I think the whole Dodgers group is like that, right? And I also talked about how Ohtani, essentially being ranked as a pitcher only because he's going number one in every draft anyway, or he certainly should be. So looking at Yamamoto, the reason that I was still ready to go for him. Now, if the injury thing happens and you have some sort of research article that you're going to, or you put it in your, you talk about it on the pod after you do your rankings, you're like, I did find out that, 72% of guys coming over from Japan have a big injury in year 2 because he's already dealt with a big one this year. I think that would give me some pause and maybe have to reconsider Yamamoto. But I am going in with some optimism on the health. And I will admit it's blind optimism, right? There's no real reason to be overly excited about it, except that he finished on the mound, which is a big thing that we always hit on, you and I, when guys do finish their year pitching. Because at least we have an idea of who they were at the end of the year. They were healthy, and he did throw some of his best ball in the playoffs. I know he got beat up a little bit in one of the San Diego games. In fact, it was his first game against them, but then bounced back with a gem. And then Yamamoto was okay against the Mets and very good against the Yankees in the World Series. So I was really encouraged by that. I do have a lot of faith in the Dodgers as an organization. That's part of why I grouped them together too, just kind of put all their guys there to feel like they get the best out of their guys, both from a skill standpoint, and they massage their health in a way that's kind of easy to digest, meaning they usually put their guys on the IL so we can work around it. And so for leagues with IL spots, when they do that, you can put the guy on the IL and move on. Kershaw gets like 2 IL stints a year. Boom, you can set your watch to it type of vibe. I don't want Yamamoto to have to go on the IL, but I do at least feel like if he's hurt, he'll go on the IL and you can appropriately deal with it. I thought we saw enough in the 90 innings last year that I still think the upside is fantasy ace, which, I had my tier of aces, which was 10 guys, or 9 guys, but then there's another group of like 10, 12, 15 who can frontline a rotation for fantasy purposes.
Yeah, I'm very torn. Another one of these. I'm gonna have to wait and see. I just can't imagine I'm gonna have him this high. Taking him over really the vast majority of your next group. We're gonna talk about a few of those guys in that next group. But taking him over Bybee, taking him over Fried and Cole Reagans and Bailey over, I just have a really hard time doing it, especially considering how much time he missed last year. Again, I may do the research on Japanese pitchers coming over and go, there's no correlation. It's just, bad luck, for a few of these guys. And we just remember it because it was so devastating to lose, a guy like Otani or lose a guy like Senga, in their second season to massive, arm injuries. But
Right.
I definitely have some trepidation with a guy like Yamamoto in his second full season. So
I think that's totally fair. And I also want to point out, we talk a lot about this over the course of the years doing the pod together about, the actual ranking number, like versus the tiers. And there was some pushback about the tiers that I broke them up in. But everyone that's listening to this podcast for any amount of time knows I hate the 1 to 200 just straight ranking. I don't find use in that. And so if I don't, why would I think other people do? Now, other people might. And obviously some people do. I know not everyone is the same, but I think you find more use bucketing guys together and looking at them that way than just going 1 to whatever, here you go. And 38 is definitely better than 42. And it's like, no, it's not. What you were saying earlier, you have them 6, I have them 9. Let's argue to the death on this.
Yeah.
No. And so where this pertains to the Dodgers is I put that group at 10 to 13, but I really think they could kind of live anywhere in the 10 to 25 range. I just happen to have that next group one step from Ace Hood at 14 to 25, and I thought it worked better as opposed to like, because if I'm truthfully slotting them, I think I have Snell where he is, 9 or 10. Then Yamamoto would probably be closer to like 18, but the way I did the tiers, it just made more sense for this. Now, last year I did the tiers, but I kept the numbers how they were.
That's what I did for my positions.
And that's if I did that, this might put you more at ease because I in my mind, Yamamoto is really more of like an 18 to 22 guy. But I didn't think it was such a stark difference that I had to really hammer that point home. But maybe in one of my updates, I might go back to what I did last year. I know that
I think
that
you should
bothered some
because you're
people
gonna
too, though.
Yeah. Well, I think both are gonna. I mean, you're never gonna make everybody happy.
That's true. That's true.
I personally, for me, it's drawing, especially when we start getting. I'm gonna just lump the next two together, even though they're both very worthy of having their own separate conversations. But having Glass now and Otani, who both have, let's just say, innings issues,
huge innings issues, right?
Yeah.
And again, we talk about the risk thing and all that. I don't want to belabor the point too much, but my point isn't that there's no risk with them. It's just don't overrate the safety of others compared to them.
For me, it's like I'm petrified that Glass now is just going to blow out his arm. Like It's just, like he didn't pitch at the end of the year. All the things that you said to try to make me feel better about Yamamoto do not apply to Glass now, right? So I'm very scared. He's probably, depending on, like, obviously price is a huge context, depending on, where you're drafting and who you're drafting with. I just can't see myself taking Glass now at all this year. I'm too afraid that the arm, I wrote this risk article for FTN, and like I didn't say specifically any particular players like, hey, I'm not drafting this guy, or I am drafting this guy. But like he would fall into I'm not touching that, especially at the price. So we're talking about, Glass now still going. Let's see, pick. He's going a little bit lower than actually.
That's the thing, though. Stupid market. How come you never give him at a discount? I get it because his upside is so rich and he's just so hot. Yeah, right.
Like he's actually going to pick 103. Like
that's not too bad.
That's not bad at all. Like I actually don't have I mean, I'm still not drafting him there because then you're, like,
that's still rich, but it's not.
We'll talk about like Spencer Schwellenbach next episode. But like I'm taking Spencer Schwellenbach. Like I'm taking Logan Webb and Tanner Bybee there, and Grayson Rodriguez I'll take there. Like I just have a really hard time seeing Glass now at 12 like that. That is jarring to me. So if it was me, obviously you do whatever you want. It's your ranking. But yeah, I would definitely put the number where I think he should be drafted next to his name within that tier.
Okay. I think I might do that up. I liked that last year. Maybe I got a little bit too caught up in a handful of comments that were, I don't want to say confused. I don't want to imply that people are stupid. They knew, but they were just like, did you misnumber them? Like what was going on there? But my point was like, put the number ranking there 1 to 200, but then bucket them in the tiers. And so you might have a tier that has a guy as high as 15 and as low as 50. And you're like, well, how are they both in there? Well, look at what the tier is. If the
Yeah.
tier is like home run issues, then that could be Bailey Ober and then like Hunter Green, right?
And
Again,
I
coming
think
into
especially as like a
to this
draft
year.
list, like that's even more interesting because you
That's
can
kind of
like
what I
have
thought.
yeah, because like you can go, okay, listen, from a roster construction standpoint, I don't want a guy who's got a high whip
Right.
paired with another guy who's got a high whip. I may like them
Yes.
both, but like I can't have them on the same team. So it's
Don't
good
take
to have
three
them.
guys from my
Yeah,
whip killer category.
yeah,
No, okay.
exactly.
I think
Or
I'm going to
lack of
revert
strikeout
then.
category. Like yeah, I like for me like that's what I did. Like with catcher, like there's 3 catcher eligible Pittsburgh Pirates, right? Like Joey
Hmm.
Bart, Henry Davis, Andy Rodriguez. Like they're clearly not all ranked near each other necessarily. I think one is high, one's in the middle, and one's low. But I put them in the same tier because it's just like bucket of Pirates. Like, what do I do with
Yes.
this? Like,
Yes.
type of thing.
But pay
So,
different price. Yeah. And that's a great analog for my Dodger situation here. Because, like I
mhm.
said, if it was the true number, then it would still be Snell at 10, Yamamoto at like 18 to 22, Glass now right there in the 18 to 22 range as well. And then with Otani, I don't know because, again, he's so difficult to rank because you're
Yeah,
drafting him for a hitter anyway. And most leagues give you both. But this is really the ranking for the leagues where you don't
for
get both.
Yahoo,
So,
where
yeah, for
where you
Yahoo.
have to draft him as a pitcher
So Yahoo
only.
Otani pitchers probably like 25 to 28, but I just put him with. Okay, I think I am going to redo that. It won't create like a ton of different changes. Really, the Dodgers tier will be a big one that changes, and you'll see some other things. But I liked that better last year, so you've encouraged me to go back to that.
All right, all right. Well, then we can just kind of move on to the next tier, which
Let's do
are
it.
filled with a lot of guys I really like, um, and clearly some guys you don't like, or some guys you really do like. Let's start with one that you don't like, Garrett Cole at 14, after being pretty much a first round pick the last 4 years.
Hmm.
Um, Now, I don't think you're even going to be the low man on Garrett Cole. I think
No,
there's going
because
to be
I'm
a
not
lot
down
of
on him.
yeah, I think there's a lot of people who are going to have Garrett Cole outside of the top 20, maybe even outside the top 25 at starting pitcher. Um, I have a really hard time not having him as a top 10 guy. Like I really think like, and I've already drafted him this year. I know there's risk considering he didn't have the surgery.
Sure.
And this flies in the face of like what I just said about Tyler Glass now, but
Well,
finished the year on the mound.
yeah, he's a
And
bit different than Glass now. I'm going
he's
to take you off the hook on
Garrett.
that.
Yeah, he's Garrett Cole. Like I just,
Yeah.
he's a guy I'm definitely watching in spring. Like, like usually with my aces, unless I hear like, oh, Zach Gallen's down 3 miles an hour, then I don't
Hmm.
really care about watching the aces. I'm more watching guys who I think I'm trying to figure out where they should go.
Exactly.
But Garrett Cole is a guy I'm going to be watching in spring. I want to see health. Like Garrett Cole at 14 is like it is shocking. I don't want to say it's crazy because
I got to be honest.
not going to be the craziest. It's
I'm
shocking.
higher than ADP.
I know you are.
He's currently the
one of the reasons I
16th
wanted to
starter.
talk about it because
So yeah,
I think people are going to yell at me when I have him as a top 10 pitcher, and I'm sure I will have
and
him as a top 10
I
pitcher.
don't know if they should because he
They
is
should.
somebody I agonized over. And again, going back to this thing with the Dodgers being there, and they really belonged to be spread out amongst the one step of Ace Hood group in terms of their ranking, that would have elevated Cole because I think, in my quote unquote true ranking, and again, it's not like I'm holding back actual rankings or anything. I don't want anybody to think that. It's just that I bucketed them here instead of the split I did last year. But Cole's probably closer to 12 for me, but that's still not top 10 where you have him. He is the 16th starter off the board in draft champions leagues right now, which is shocking. Now, yeah, it's 95 innings last year, and they weren't peak Garrett Cole or really anything close to. But who is more bankable than him right now? Only a few guys that you can really say. And so unless we get anything to the contrary on his health in the winter or spring, I think you should have a lot of confidence that Garrett Cole can still headline your rotation. He is still one of the very best pitchers in baseball. And I do think that this draft ranking that he has, or this ADP that he has, is an overreaction. And again, I can say that because I am still higher than the draft. But I do understand why you want him even higher because you're not as interested in some of the volatility of those Dodgers or even maybe DeGrom. And I think you like Crochet, but maybe not at 4. But like you're not worried at all about taking Cole next year, and I don't really feel worried either. Even though you're going to have him 10 and I've got him 14, we aren't really far apart. So I back you on this. And if people do give you a hard time when you put him 10, I'll be there to say, I don't have him at 10, but I support Justin because it's Garrett F. and Cole still at the end of the day. And I guarantee you that if I miss the first wave of studs, I'm going to be looking at that draft board and still having some confidence if and when I say the name Garrett Cole.
And this is another one of those like DeGrom situations though, where like I'm gonna be really conscious if I take Garrett Cole like of my roster construction, right? Like I'm probably gonna like pair him with a Gilbert or
You're
a
not going to pair him with
Kirby or
Freed, his new teammate?
yeah, no, I'm definitely not gonna pair him with Freed. Freed's another one of those guys that kind of scares me, even
Yep.
though like I got a little pushback in the Patreon or not the Patreon, the Discord today, on like my Max Freed kind of takes and like he just scares me, man. Like it's 2 straight years,
I totally
elbow,
get the fear.
forearm, like
Yep.
like yeah, like I just worry. And like the Yankees have weird luck, right? They signed Carlos Rodon to that big deal, and then he gets hurt, and like so like I do have a little bit of fear with Freed. I have drafted Freed because he has fallen a draft of mine, and I was like, okay, well if he's my SP3 behind Skubal and Skeens, like
Oh,
okay,
I forgot that's the league where you got him. That
yeah.
is so sick that he's your SP3.
My SP3 between those two guys. Like, okay, if I lose him, I think I'm still okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, like so I'm gonna just with Cole, I'm just gonna be very careful about the way I construct my roster around him. So if I do draft him, which I will, because I already have drafted him. I've got no problem drafting him. So.
Yeah, I'm fully on board with drafting him. So I want to just co-sign what you're saying here, even though I have him a bit lower than you.
The next guy you don't hate, you just love, Michael King.
I do love Michael King.
And again,
this
it's not that I don't love him. It is I when I saw the 15, I went, wait, what are we doing here? Like
Michael King? Is that Michael his who he put there? 15? Yes. Michael King.
Yeah,
15,
like
baby.
This was a guy who was reliever 2 years ago.
Right.
And now we're talking about him as a SP1 in 15 team leagues. Talk about your love of Michael King.
Honestly, like I am so in love with Michael King and what he was able to do. If you look at his season, the start to it was like, oh, this transition didn't work. This is a bust. And the people that drafted him on the recommendation of like me or Nick Pollock last year, they're like, those idiots don't know what the hell they're talking about. I never should have drafted some clown ass reliever. He had a 5 ERA through April. Control issues were really bad, including a 7-walk game against your Giants. He only had 1 game with fewer than 2 walks, and it was still 1 walk. It was 7 shutout against your Giants after the 7-walk game. But the bottom line was there was trouble in March, April there for Michael King, and it wasn't just an inflated ERA. There were skill issues with the control that said, uh-oh, did I make a mistake going for this guy?
Yeah.
Then he opened May with 13 shutout innings against the NL reigning champion, the Diamondbacks, and the Dodgers. 7 shutout against them with 11 punchies. And that was encouraging, only to have the rug pulled out the immediate next start when the Rockies came to San Diego and dropped 6 on him. So you're like, oh boy, here we go again. Nope. That was not going to be the unraveling. That was really the last blip that we saw in the year. And if you look from May on, Michael King put up an amazing run, 137 and 2/3 innings with a 2.42 ERA, undoubtedly one of the best pitchers going in baseball over the final 5 months of the season. And that really, really sold me on him because he's always had the impressive skills even as a reliever. And then he had the good close to last year that kind of brought him onto the starter landscape. Now it was only 8 starts, so we were like, how much should we put into this for Michael King? Then they traded him. I'm like, well, did the Yankees not buy? Because I had a little trepidation with King. When the Yankees traded him, I was like, do they not buy into the starter transition? Or on the other hand, when I wanted to try to convince myself of it, I said, well, the Padres traded Juan Soto for Michael King, not 1-to-1, but they thought he was good enough as a starter that they would traded Juan Soto for him. So I was going back and forth on that. Push came to shove, 173 innings. His transition to the rotation reminds me a bit of CJ Wilson's, just in terms of the fact that he immediately became a full-time
What a
starter.
name! What a
I know.
pullback!
Remember when he did this after
Mhm.
5, 6 years of relieving and started 30 games the very first season? And it shows you that like not everyone has to be built up stair step slowly. And so I was really, really encouraged by Michael King's season. He battled through the early adversity, became an absolute stalwart for the Padres, and I think he can do it again next year. So I got him very high at 15, but I am totally bought in. And last season's breakouts is a difficult player class to buy because they're usually inflated. And so I understand why there will be some people who are nervous with King, but he's one of the last year breakouts that I really think is legit. And so I'm putting my chips in on him.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have him 15, but
How far down you think?
Probably
Or
in the high teens, low 20s ish. So I mean,
him
not that much farther down.
or your boy Ober?
I think it's gonna be over.
I think that's a good battle, though.
I'm irrational about Ober, and
I understand, and I love it. I love how much you love Ober now.
I do wonder, like, King relied so much on getting called strikes. Like, how repeatable is that on
That's
a
a
year-to-year
difficult
basis?
skill to repeat. Yep.
So I wonder if I think there's just going to be like maybe some, pullback in a few different areas, right? He's also not like a strong whip guy. He's not a bad whip guy, but he's not a strong whip guy necessarily.
Yeah, because when he has issues, it is usually walk related, as we talked about from the April from Michael King.
Yeah. So I mean, even from he had a 112 whip from May on. So again, it's not a bad whip. You're not like going, oh, you cost my league because my whip. No,
right, but it's not like, some sub one guy either.
Yeah, he doesn't have a 1.03 whip, like and just cruising. So I think it's a bit high for me, but I felt more like, hey, we need to have this conversation because like this is such a huge turnaround from a guy that 2 years ago was relieving to all of a sudden this guy's potentially a top 15 starter in fantasy. But yeah, it's crazy.
Maybe I'll get you on the train. I got all winter to sell you on Michael King.
You might, and like I said, when I do my projections, I may come out and be like,
yeah,
no, Paul's too low on Michael King.
right. You're gonna usurp me like you did on Ober. You're like, actually, I have Michael King 8 now, you idiot.
Yeah, exactly. Michael King over Corbin Burns. No.
I'm not even going that far.
Yeah, no, definitely not. All right, so the next one we're going to talk about is Shane McClanahan, who you have at 18. I really, really, really struggle with TJ returnees, and having a guy at 18.
And you love McClanahan too, if I recall correctly.
I love McClanahan.
Okay,
absolutely
just sure.
love McClanahan.
Yeah.
Like if he is back to like, and this is one where like I could easily do an about face in spring.
Yes.
And go, oh my God, he looks like the dude he was before the surgery. And like, but we know that guys come back from TJ struggle with command and control. We know the Rays are not going to be very good and that they're a conservative organization to begin with. I just don't know how you're going to get enough innings, even from a really good McClanahan, to warrant taking him as a top 20 starting pitcher.
How many do you think we need? Because I'll let you answer in a second.
I think you need 150 to 160, and I don't think he's getting there.
I think we don't need that many because I think that number keeps coming down every year. And this was a little bit of a mini theme in the rankings, right? We've already talked about Crochet and DeGrom, the Dodgers themselves, and now McClanahan. I am going more for the per inning gods. And again, I'm not going to put 4 or 5 of them on a team, or even really 2, 3 of them. It's really kind of one and then, go from there. But I am way more open to them. And even TJ returnees, and you guys know, the both of us, we consistently talk about being very careful with TJ returnees. But what is my one caveat? If they have the extended rehab, I'm more open to it. And he did have his TJ surgery, Shane McClanahan did, in August 2023. So he does have the extendo rehab, which does at least open up the opportunity to get a few more innings than he might normally if it was the 14-month rehab. And we know the Rays will be tight. one thing I do object to, though, you said the Rays won't be a good team. I don't know that that's true. I think that they were, remember the Jerry Dipoto thing? It was just last winter, I think, even, right? When he said the 86 win thing, we
Hmm.
shoot for like 85, 86 wins, and then variance kind of takes care of the rest. That is the Rays motto. Our boy Jason Gleb been talking to us about that from the Rays for years, about how they just want to be mid 80s win projection and they let variance take care of the in-season variance, whether that's the bullpen, injury, good luck, a couple breakouts out of nowhere, a prospect here. Like there could be a lot of different things that contribute
I
to
don't think
it.
they're going to be bad.
Okay.
I think that division is so top heavy right now with
But
the
I think
Orioles.
the division is good because they're part of it too, though. I think Yankees,
Maybe not wrong.
Orioles, Rays, and then we'll see if the Red Sox, they were 81-81 last year. They just added an ace. And even the Jays as a last place team, when your last place team still wins 74 as they did, that's tough. So even as a last place team, they are the best last place, well, the second best. The Pirates were 76 and 86. So I think that they're going to be back a bit next year. And again, that wasn't your main point here, so I don't want to belabor it. But I think McClanahan can get his wins in his limited innings. And I did even point out in my write-up that I expect rests in between his outings as opposed to shortened starts all year. So I don't think they're going to 4 or 5 inning McClanahan all season. I do expect that early on, and so you might have to deal with that in April. But I think once he gets going, they will let him go as 5, 6, and maybe even an occasional 7 when he's being really efficient. But then you're going to get 8 days off here, 10 days off there, 6 days off here type of vibe. And that's how they're going to get him to the finish line. So I'm looking for more of like 130 innings out of McClanahan,
Okay.
which might still be lofty. But I think if I get a $130 on an 18-month extended TJ rehab, we could see Shane McClanahan being mostly the guy that he was before that, which was fast tracking to become one of the best aces in the game. So I really love him. I'm basically cutting to the chase of spring. You talked about how you could do an about face on Garrett Cole, and we always talk about there's certain guys in spring that I'm kind of being tepid right now, but if I see X, Y, and Z in spring, I'm in. McClanahan is one of those guys, but I just kind of cut through the BS and said, I'm doing it now, and then I'll revert. And it's safer and smarter to go the other way, rank conservatively, and then move him up if things look good in spring. But because of the extra rehab, because I love McClanahan before the injury, I'm going with the ranking now. And then if things look treacherous in spring, I will back off.
Okay. All right. I have a little trivia question for you
Okay.
here.
Hit me with
The
it.
fact I'm asking it may just like clue you into where I'm going.
Sure.
Okay. So in 2022, we had only 45 pitchers who qualified for the RA title.
Mm-hmm.
In 2023, we had 44. How many do you think we had in 2024?
Now you said because you're asking, it might clue me in, but you got my Trivial Pursuit brain working, and I don't know if you're saying that it spiked and it's going to negate my point earlier about innings coming down, or if it went lower again. But I'm going to go with my initial thinking, which is 38, that it went down again.
58.
Damn it! I was right.
It went up.
Yep, I should have gone with my first
We
thinking.
had more pitchers throw.
That is impressive.
So now that may just be a 1-year spike.
Sure.
But
it does undercut my point a little bit about where I'm
exactly.
saying that those thresholds are coming down.
Where the volume is just as important as the skills in a lot of these cases. Now, there are going to be definitely times where we say, hey, you know what? I care about the skills on this guy. DeGrom's one of those guys, right? Like, we feel like if we get 130, 140 innings from DeGrom, he is a top 5 pitcher.
DeGrom was the number 6 pitcher with 92 innings. Now, that was one of the best samples ever, but still.
But he's capable of that. McClanahan, I think, is another one of these guys too. But I think we need to maybe recalibrate a little bit in terms of saying,
that's
said.
He
only needs 130 innings. I don't know that he does. Like, if you've got, 97 starting pitchers with more than 130 innings, then, that might be a problem. So, I'm a little bit more cautious on a guy like McClanahan. I don't think I'll be drafting him nearly as high as you will be. But I mean, I love him, and I hope I'm wrong. Like, this is another one of these scenarios where I go, listen, this is what I think. This is how I'm approaching it, and I want to be wrong. Like, I want McClanahan to be, great, because he is amazing to watch. Any fears about now? Because I got a little bit of not necessarily pushback, but just corrected on something I said on Sunday we were talking about Jeffrey Springs being traded to Sacramento, and I was all like, I woke up to that news and I was a little pissed.
Because don't you
But
have
then,
a ton of springs?
yeah, he's my most rostered pitcher so far this year. But someone pointed out to me, and thankfully they did. The Rays are playing in a spring training
Right.
stadium all season. So, like, how worried are you about Rays pitchers
I
right
have some
now?
concerns.
I mean, I haven't seen what obviously I'm gonna wait for guys like Todd Zola and Derek Hardy to be like, well, this is what you can kind of expect in terms of park factors there.
They're
But
playing in Steinbrenner Field, right?
yeah,
Okay. I've been there.
That's
It ain't big.
no,
Let's just
no,
say
it's
that.
not. So any worry about, I mean, now, like, I think studs are studs, but like there are a lot of draftable pitchers in Tampa Bay. Like their entire
Right.
rotation, like, I mean, maybe this takes Zach Littell completely off your board, but like I really like Pepio. I really like Buzz.
Yeah. I can't
like
quit Pep and Taj Bradley and McClanahan.
and
But
Taj Bradley, like McClanahan, like there's four guys. Like now I'm all of a sudden going, how much do I downgrade him here?
could it build a discount for them, right? It might not
It
be there yet,
absolutely will.
but
It
when
absolutely will. Yeah.
the Cardis and the Zolas of the world who do the park factor stuff, when they put that out, their findings, and they say, oh, this is a minus 15% on guys. If it builds enough of a discount, then it won't deter me at all. But it is a consideration for sure. Unfortunately, the hurricane screwed up the Trop quite a bit, that they're not going to be able to play there for at least the next year, maybe 2 years. I can't remember. But it's up in the air right now. At the same time, like you said, studs are studs. We take guys, in hitters parks if they're good enough. I mean, I don't want to take that sentiment too far though, because we do avoid a lot of Cincinnati Reds because they're in that park. Like I'm still not drafting Hunter Green because I still don't think he fixed his home run issue. So it is a consideration for sure. Again, this is a bit of a flag planting ranking, and that doesn't mean that it's fraudulent or that it's just a look at me that I don't believe in. I want to be clear on that. It's what I would take him there right now. But like I said, I kind of jumped ahead to March, and this is what my March ranking would be if he shows out healthily the way we expect McClanahan to be. I just took the express train here instead of ranking him like 29th and then inching him up as we get through spring training.
I respect
But the park factor is very, very important to bring up. And it also adds some intrigue to some of their hitters that I already liked. Like I am so hot. This is not a hitter's pod right now, but I am so hot on Brandon Lau. And now that he's going into a freaking minor league park, dude, are you kidding me? He's another guy. You just got to stay healthy. But for the plate appearances that we're going to get, give me 400 plate appearances from him. That's all I need from Brandon Lau.
So I'm in I've talked about this league before. It's the 30 teams, 100-man roster league. And I know some of the guys are listening. So, hey, how you guys doing? So we're in our free agency right now. And like we just nominated the first round of players for our auction. And there's a bidding war going on at Brandon Lau. And at first I was like, why the hell is everybody going crazy with Brandon Lau? But it makes sense now. Like he is playing in my ballpark.
Right.
And it's also a super
and he's coming off a good
where,
year.
Yeah, like Junior Caminaro.
Yeah.
Sign you up. Like, like even like a rebound for Josh Lowe. There's a number of Rays guys I'm going to be going after. And I do think that there are going to be there's going to be a discount on some of the pitchers that I'm probably going to take advantage of. Like I'm
100%.
totally, if Jeffrey Springs falls any farther than he is now that he's in Sacramento, I'm going to be buying up even more shares, and I already have been. So I think people overreact to this kind of stuff. And obviously you need to react, but just don't go crazy because it's so hard to predict how all this stuff is going to play out.
Yeah, no, I totally agree there that it can be overreacted to sometimes, but I'm glad you brought it up, at least with Tampa Bay, because everyone's talking about the Athletics one, and I don't think enough people are talking about the Rays one. So I'm glad you brought it up. I
totally forgot about it until whoever commented on I can't remember if it was on the YouTube or on the post on Fangraphs said something. And so I appreciate when people point that kind of stuff out to me because I'm not tracking everything all the time. So okay, last one. We'll finish up. Just got a few minutes left. Roki Sasaki at 19. I think this is another one of kind of my volume concerns. I just don't know where his volume is going to be.
That's a billion% fair.
And I do think that he's going to be a pretty good major league pitcher. But 19 just feels awfully high. Where are you at on Sasaki?
So this is in keeping with the theme of the others of like kind of taking the risk. Now he has no major league track record,
Yeah.
so it's not quite the same as DeGrom, Crochet, McClanahan, those sorts of things. But in terms of embracing the uncertainty and just going with the premier talent, that's where Sasaki comes in. Now, he doesn't have a team yet. He is coming off his worst year. Now, I want to reiterate, or I want to strongly underscore that his worst season, his down year for Roki Sasaki, is still unbelievably amazing. He had a two and a quarter ERA, excuse me, 2.35 ERA, 104 WHIP. But yes, that was way down from what he did, or way up, I guess, as it were, with those ratios, from the 178, 075 ERA WHIP that he had the year before. So I get it. It was, and the velo was down. He didn't quite look like the god pitcher that he was, but he's 23. I think he's going to go to the Dodgers. I almost cheekily put him in the Dodgers tier just to be funny, but I also didn't want to mislead anybody who maybe wasn't paying attention and was like, "Oh, he's on the Dodgers. Okay, so I'll operate like that." And then, they go making decisions based on that. So I didn't do it, but I assume that's where I'm going to be elevating him to when Roki Sasaki signs. We will see. And so again, I might have to reassess because you mentioned 58 pitchers qualified for the ERA title, 10 more than the previous year. But my thinking is 120-ish type innings. Roki Sasaki transitioning to the States, I think he's going to transition well. And as long as he stays healthy, he should be a stud. But I will admit there were question marks on this because I don't really know what to do with him. So I thought 18 was like kind of just like, here he is, and I'll give you guys more when he signs because I don't really know what to think right now. So I'm open to the critique on it. I just didn't really know where to put him.
All right, that makes sense. I think I'm probably, and I tend to be a lot more conservative on these guys just because I don't know what to expect of them. I don't know how to project them properly in the way that they should be projected coming over. It's such a hard transition, and some guys are great. Yamamoto was great when, in kind of the stretches that we got to see him. Other guys come over and they struggle. They can't adapt to the Major League Baseball game. The ball's different. The schedule is different. Mm-hmm. Just general life is different. You're thousands of miles away from your home. Yeah, exactly. In a country where you may not speak the English as well as everybody else around you. So I'm not going to have him as a top 20 guy or a top 25 guy probably, and which means I won't get him this year, which will be a bummer. Maybe I'll luck
that's
out
okay,
and get him in a first year player draft or something like that. Yeah. But I'm a lot more cautious on those type of guys.
No problem. Again, I really cannot push back on that. I'm not going to be too convicted to my 19 ranking for Sasaki right now. I want to see what's going on. And push come to shove, you look at the next group there that maybe we'll get into next episode as we go deeper. But like Grayson Rodriguez, Tanner Bybee, Shota Imanaga, Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober, and Dylan Cease, I can't say I'm taking Sasaki over all those guys every time, right? My ranking, that's why I do tiers, because my ranking is not a straight rank that I just adhere letter of the law. I will look at my team where it's at. If I've got some stability, like let's say I get one of the Mariners, or let's say I go big on pitching and I get like Wheeler Gilbert or something, and I want to take a third pitcher early, then I might take a Sasaki, right? Because the innings that I get from those two could sustain them. But if I lead off with Snell, ain't no way I'm taking Sasaki to back him up, right? Because I'm getting 100 combined innings from those two, possibly, I should say. So yeah, I'm totally with you on Sasaki. He is a bit of a question mark right now. I also almost did another cheeky thing, which was I put question mark next to his ranking. But again, I didn't do anything. I played it straight up. I didn't want to confuse people. But who the hell knows right now? We will learn so much about him after he signs, and then again in spring, that I think his ranking could kind of fluctuate wildly over the next several months.
I hope he doesn't go. I hope he doesn't go to the Dodgers, but I know he will.
I totally get that, but yeah, it's hard not to think that he won't.
Yeah. Come on, Padres or Mariners, step up.
Step up, right? Yeah. Oh my God, if the Mariners got him to facilitate a trade of Castillo for I would love that, right? It would be almost like a free agent hitter signing in the way they play it by saying, okay, Sasaki's going to replace, even if it's not Castillo, even if they traded a Wu, a Miller, a Kirby, or Gilt, like it could be anybody.
I think it'll be Castillo.
But Castillo makes the most sense. We've already had rumors there, but if they say, okay, We signed Sasaki. I know we don't need pitching, but now we're trading Castillo for a big bat. I think that'd be a hot move for them.
I did too. Yeah. All right. I think that's all the questions I got for you today.
All right, that's wonderful.
We'll do it
So we
again
covered
on Friday. Yeah.
Yes,
Friday.
let's do Friday. We covered the top 20. We'll get deeper in next episode. Thank you so much for accommodating me being late. I
Absolutely.
apologize for that, but we will talk again Friday. Have a good one, Justin.
Take it easy.